Namaskar. Again, the day Saturday, 11 a.m. Our team is here for a wonderful webinar. Our speaker this time is Mr. Hari Sravanan. And as we all know, he is one of the best guide of the South India. This time we came with a different feature. Tourism is not just like a monument or the wildlife or the adventure. Also, we conclude, we bring the many products in tourism which help to develop the tourism, and at the same time, tourism help to develop that society, that culture. So that this time, our webinar, which we are going to present today, it is based on folk paintings of India. Especially, we focus on the floor and the wall paintings. There will be the second episode also of the same webinar next Saturday. And we also focus other part of the paintings, especially in the Northeast region. But this time, also the subject is very vast. But our speaker, as I told you, Mr. Hari, he is the best speaker with a dynamic career. And here you can see, the richness of the quality of the tourist guide. They just, they are not there just to explain the monument and the this and that. They are there to explain the depth and the richness of our culture, our heritage. So that this time, Mr. Hari is again with us. We are lucky that we are going to see these folk paintings with the eyes of the Mr. Hari. So, Mr. Hari, here we are inviting you. Please join the stage and enlighten us.
Namaste. Vanakkam. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Ajay Singh ji, for the introduction. And you deluged me unnecessarily. I'm not that great. I'm just sharing what I know about folk art forms in India, because I've been in this research. To begin with, I would like to thank the National Folklore Support Center based in Chennai, on behalf of whom I had done extensive research in folk forms across India, and Tara Books based in Chennai, for whom I had done year-long research on folk paintings of India. To begin with, as you mentioned, I'll be doing this webinar into two series. That is, the first one will be based more on the floor paintings and wall paintings, which is there across India. Though there is a large number of paintings available, I would like to share only the ones which are in vogue in contemporary times. And the second part, I'll be sharing more about the murals across India and other folk art forms. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin with the presentation. Please do bear with me, because I've got a lot of slides to share with you. To begin with, if you notice folk paintings in the sense is something which is being performed by the community and shared by the community. There are many of these paintings which are drawn on the floor and on the walls of their homes among various communities across India. I shall begin with South India, that is from Tamil Nadu, my home state. So basically, if you notice, these folk paintings are meant to express the belief system during a ritual process. It can be a daily affair, it can be an occasional affair, but nevertheless, these express about the belief system, the folk heroes, and also they intend to connect the individual with the cosmos and the earth. Like, for instance, floor paintings are meant to do that. Floor paintings, the floor, in Tamil context, they are known as a kalam. Kalam can be also threshing floor in an agricultural field. It could be a place of area where you practice martial arts, or even a sacred space in a temple, in a sacred grove, or at a home. So what happens is this floor, any art done on the floor, connects the individual with the earth and the cosmos, and the paintings which are done on the wall connects the householders with the cosmos. Now, this is a big, large topic, but I don't want to bore you on that because it's very academic in sense. So to begin with, I will start with Golem of Tamil Nadu. Golem in Tamil Nadu is a floor drawing. I will not call it as painting. There are two forms of it, which I'll come to later. It's a floor drawing made every day morning in front at the entrance of the home, which is very ritualistic. Women of the household, except widows, married women, young girls, they get up early in the morning, they sprinkle water on the floor, and they do these floor drawings, which are meant to invoke goddess Lakshmi, and primarily they are meant to be as a first act of generosity towards all living beings. The reason being, these floor drawings are made with finely grounded rice. And recently what happens is, just to give some shine to it, they add a little bit of gypsum powder. By this act, what happens is they do invite ants, insects, and even birds to come and feast on it. So this is a kind of a generosity the householder, especially the woman, shows towards all living beings. Now, this is the context of it. Kolam as a word has got various denotations and connotations in Tamil language, but it basically means as form, like how you call roop in Hindi and the root word rupa in Sanskrit. There are two types of columns. One which is made of dry, finely grounded rice powder, and the second one is the same finely grinded rice powder is soaked in water, made into a paste, and they've done. So let us see how they do it. This is an affair which is done every day morning in front of the home, except when there is a person who is deceased in the home, they do it every day morning. Or if they're not in the home, they're gone out on a vacation or so on, something, they do it. And also in temples, they do this. And this particular floor drawing is got various names across India. But the difference in Tamil Nadu is it is done every day in Tamil Nadu. Across India, it is done on only specific occasions, which is connected with family events like life cycle rituals and certain festivals. And another concept of offering the kolam is, what they do is, it is also to placate Bhudevi, that is goddess Earth, because every day we do trouble her by putting our burden on her. We exploit her by depending on everything for our existence from her. So these are the twin concepts behind the kolam. And also the third one is to give a auspicious context in the entrance of the home, whereby you invite goddess Lakshmi. And this whole thing there is a term for this known as Sri Lakshnam. Sri Lakshnam means, you could consider it as you could interpret Sri Lakshnam as renewing the relationship between the humans and the cosmos. And here you see a lady, morning, she has not just sprinkled water, but she has also mixed some cow dung in water, applied it as a coat on the floor, and they do it. And if you notice, this one is one of the columns which she starts it in a very small form and she elaborates it further. Now, this column, if you notice, it's done specifically in the month of Margali, which falls in the English calendar of November, December time, when women do these elaborate columns, and nowadays they do add color powder to it, which they get it from the bazaar, and they take a small piece of Kobar, place it in the center, and place a pumpkin flower on top. Here you could see it. And this is a column, if you notice, which is done in front of the Kabaleshwara temple in Mylapore, where here you can notice two ladies who are engrossed discussing about how to more fine tune it. And column, if you notice, the process is pretty elaborate. which I'll come to it later. And here is a lady who's making a column in the road where the temple chariot is going to be coming in some time. Here is an image of a chariot she has drawn. And here they start.
Hariji, sorry to interrupt, but we cannot see the slide.
Oh boy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I did not share the screen. I'm sorry.
Yes, now we can see.
Yeah, I shall just. Yeah. Here is the floor drawing, which happens in at the homes every morning. And this is the elaborate column which they do it in the month of Margali. That is the November, December time. And here you can see two ladies discussing to enhance the column, where one of the lady is giving a suggestion to a younger lady. This is in front of the temple. And here is a column which is done on the floor, on the road, in front of the home of this lady, before the temple chariot is taken into procession. Now here, if you notice, they start with the center square and they start elaborating it. And column is drawn with the process of dots. First, they place dots, and then they do it with either connecting it by lines or by curves. It is known in Tamil as pulli and suri. Pulli means dot and suri means curve. And here I got a small documentation to share with you. The another version of column, apart from the dry version, is the wet version, which I told you, which is rice flour, finely ground rice powder mixed with water, and a small piece of cloth is dipped, and it is kept in the palm, and it is squeezed slightly, and using the ring finger, and please remember they use only the ring finger to place the dots. And here you can see these. Again, on the floor, they have applied cow dung paste. And this is very intricate because any column you do it, you have to do it. It's only a one-time affair. You cannot erase it and do it again because you have to wash the floor and do it, especially with the wet version of it. It is very, very difficult because it will like you cannot do the column again on the floor. And it is done freehand. And all this comes with practice. Here you notice this is how the process goes. First, they put these dots, that is a pulley. And after that, they start making these intricate curves. And each square will be filled and they will go from left to right or right to left. And sometimes they go in clockwise, sometimes anti-clockwise. It is on the practice of the lady who's doing it. And please remember, only women do it. Only married women or unmarried women do it, except widows. And here is a complete version. And apart from these columns, what happens, they also do these border embellishments like this one you see over here. Now, this is what happens. Now here, the lady, she has started with doing the column after laying the dots. What happens is they take the lines around the dots, they go around, and she has started with doing it from the bottom left, moving towards the right, moving upwards, and taking a semicircle form. Now, these columns, again, they represent, as I mentioned earlier, our connection with the cosmos. This particular column is again a reflection of Srivatsa of Lord Vishnu, which is represented as interconnecting, how do you say, serpent sometimes. Sometimes it is a knot, which is a symbolic representation or a semiotic representation of samsara, that is the cycle of life and birth and rebirth until you get the form of mukti, that is total liberation. Now, this is another version of the column, which is called as Mana column. Manai means is a place where the to be wed couple are made to sit, or it could also denote the place where the vigraha, that is the movable object image of the deity, is placed. Now, this one is embellished with this brown lines, which is in Hindi you call it geru. In Tamil we call it as ark. Ark means that is the powdered earth, which is being painted. They use for this, they use a finger, but many times what happens is it will overlap with the white line. So they use the fine, the coconut fiber as a brush. And nowadays they do use, of course, commercial brushes which are available in the market. An interesting aspect about Golem is it has got an important connection with mathematics. There have been Western mathematicians who have been studying this form. And in India, there have been two ladies. One of them is Dr. Kamala Kirtivasan of the Department of Computer Science in Indian Institute of Technology, Chennai, Madras, sorry, earlier Madras, now Chennai. And her theory is these two versions of the column. The one on the left you see is known as Krishna's anklet. Can you see how it has been elaborated into a simple form and then interconnected, and it keeps going on, right? And this is known as the Eulerian Circuit in mathematics. And on the right again, this is known as this is another form. And these have got another interesting thing is they call it as a Cyprensky Triangle, and they connect it with about 20 mathematical models. And this research is still going on. There is another lady who's been doing this research, and you can see a couple of videos in YouTube. Her name is Professor Vijaya Nagarajan. So column significance, ladies and gentlemen, is more than the sacred aspect of it. It's also got to do with mathematics. Interestingly, I found out, at least with my interaction, including my mother and again senior elder ladies, these people who do these elaborate, intricate columns, they are very good in mental arithmetics. They don't, even today, they don't use calculators. For instance, I'll give you an example. In my case, when my mother used to send me as a kid to buy anything from the shop as groceries, when I come back, she will be very accurate. I used to use my fingers to count and give her the accounts. But she used to be very accurate by just making the total by listening to the amount. And she will cash me out if I spend for any candies or buying a kite or two. So this is a skill which the women acquire. And here is another column which is done with the dry rice powder. But this is done during the occasion of Kartikeya Jyoti, which happens in the Tamil month of Kartikeya, that is October, November, where they celebrate the Jyoti festival, the fire which is lit on top of the Tiruvannamalai mountain, an important Saivite center in Tamil Nadu. Of late in modern times, say for instance, this is done in, you notice the columns are done in front of the homes, independent homes, like in duplex homes and so on. But what about columns in apartment blocks? For that, they've got a solution, which is a commercial solution. Here it is, the sticker columns. What you need to do is buy this from the bazaar and just stick it on your floor in front of your home in an apartment, and it is done. But nevertheless, despite this, women do apply these wet columns during festival occasions and during, say, any auspicious occasions in the family. Say, for instance, there is an engagement for the girl in the home or the boy in the home, that time they do it. Here is another version of the sticker columns. So next, ladies and gentlemen, we shall move to Kerala. In Kerala, columns are done in another form, but here it is altogether different. It's known as a poo column, which is made out of flowers, done especially during the occasion of Onam festival. And this is a traditional poo column where usually they keep a lamp which is lit, but here they have placed flowers on the lamp. In the center is a lamp decorated with flowers, which is available during the season. And another version is lighting lamps around the poo column. Now, this is more in a commercial establishment because you can notice the tricolor in the center. And these poo columns again get this design, you notice, comes from the Sri Chakra model. And here each circle denotes a particular deity, which also include the Panchabhutas. There is the 5 elements and so on. This is the whole concept of celebrating Onam. That is, wishing in prosperity for the coming year. And the third one we see is Jyoti Chitta from Orissa or Odisha, sorry, in present terms, sorry for the typo. This one you notice it's done only during 2 auspicious occasions. And this is the same material in Tamil Nadu they use, that is wet rice paste. They use it with a small, they dip a small cloth and they make it elaborate. Here they don't put dots, but they make it freehand. And in some cases, very rarely, they do have this dot system. And the material here in Odia, they call it as pitau. This is done in 2 occasions. The first occasion is during Manbasa Gurubar, which is done, which is more of a Lakshmi Puja, which falls in the month of, in the Odia month of Margashisha, which is in November, December, which is to worship goddess Lakshmi. And interestingly, they worship goddess Lakshmi on Thursdays. And this again comes from the Lakshmi Purana in Odia, written by Balram Das. The story behind it is, and this is an interesting story because also it talks about social justice. Why? Because an untouchable lady, Shriya, is a person who worships goddess Lakshmi by doing these floor drawings and offering sweet meat to her. And goddess Lakshmi leaves Lord Jagannath and goes and resides in Shriya's house. Because of this, Lord Jagannath and Sri Balbhadra, that is his brother, face severe hardships for 12 years. Finally, at the behest of Narada Muni, Lord Jagannath requests Lakshmi to come back home. When she tells him that you can get me back only if you abolish this untouchability and caste-based discrimination. I need to be worshipped by every individual on earth. Only then I'll come back, and he accepts it and she comes back. Now, this particular thing also shows about how social justice also works in forms of the mythological stories, which vary region to region. And apart from this particular floral motifs, some of the important motifs the women draw over here are the footprints of goddess Lakshmi. Then you got the lotus, and you will also have, say, here they've done it in a modern sense of sunflower. And here you go. The outer portion symbolizes the conch shell, another auspicious element of goddess Lakshmi. In the center, you can see the footprints of goddess Lakshmi. And if you notice, they also have this particular one, which is, you see the ones they are sprinkled above the footprint of goddess Lakshmi. This is known as Dhanashisha. Dhanashisha is a bunch of winnowed paddy, which again symbolizes prosperity and well-being of the family. And now also they have another version where they apply geru on the floor and over it. And here on the top portion, you can see they have done one of the Jyoti Chitta in front of the Tulasi shrine in front of the home. And this is done outside the home as a symbol to welcome goddess Lakshmi. And they also do it at home. Over here, you can see is they have done this particular Jyoti Chitta on the pedestal where goddess Lakshmi is placed. And here you notice they have got a metal box, which is the money box of the home, which is placed on the pedestal. It is decorated. This pedestal is known as Pida Marei. Sorry, apologies for my pronunciation. Many of the words, I do have difficulty in pronouncing them. Indian words, of course. And what they do is they offer sweet meats to goddess Lakshmi and they share it among themselves and they do this puja. It is done, please remember, only during the month of Mrigashisha, which is in November, December of the English calendar. And the second occasion when they celebrate this particular, they use Jyoti Chitta in Orissa is during the Rajo Prabha month, when this particular festival falls in, it is also known as Mithuna Shankaranti. this falls sometime in the month of July, English calendar of July. And this is 3 days of celebration of womanhood. The mythology behind celebrating the Rajo Prabha or the Mithuna Shankranti is the 3 days. They consider that these 3 days, Bhudevi, that is Mother Earth, is mensurating. So they suspend all agricultural activities. They don't do any activity which is harming Earth, including the fact that they make precaution that they walk slowly and gently, not too hard, or they don't run and stuff like that. And they do these paintings. And it is during this time that women are celebrated, and women do make these paintings on their walls in the entrance of their homes. So the next is the Alpana floor painting form of Bengal. Now, Bengal, when I say Bengal, it is also in Bangladesh. The Hindus of Bangladesh also do it. And this is an art form which has inspired even the modern artists like Nandanal Bose and filmmaker Satyajit Ray. Now, this is very much of a folk form which is practiced by women. Again, this is not an everyday affair. It is done during the month, during the Durga Puja festival, at time when women take bratas. Bratas in Bengali means fasting. And after fasting, women, in order to invoke goddess Lakshmi, they do this. Here, if you notice, this is a home of one of the artists called Rabi Biswas. He is a man. Though this is a form done by women, even men as artists do perform this. He has learned this from his grandmother, who is Sumita Mondal. I got a photo of her, I'll share it with you. And this one is done during a ritual at their home, where they do erect small the plantains over here in the 4 corners. And this is a sacred space where they do it. And this is where the women of rural Bengal, they do it around their homes in the entrance. This is again a form of inviting goddess Lakshmi into your home. And one of the common motifs are this one, that is the symbols associated with goddess Lakshmi. Here is a design done by artist Rabi Biswas. This is the feet of goddess Lakshmi, and then you will have the lotus, and you will also have an owl. Here it is. You got the feet of Lakshmi coming towards the home. Here is Rabi Biswas having his painting. He's doing, is the floor drawing of the Alpana. And this is mother, from whom he has learned, Rabi Biswas has learned the Alpana form. Her name is Sumitra Mondal. His grandmother. His grandmother. And one more thing is the Alpanas are drawn in 7 different occasions apart from the Durga Puja, which are very much based on festivals and again connected with women who make these Alpanas after a period of fasting. And now during Durga Puja, here is Alpana depicting the owl, which is the Vahana or the vehicle of goddess Lakshmi. Here is an artist painting an Alpana using poster colors and a brush in the Shantiniketan. And when I was telling you about how Satyajit Ray was inspired with Alpana, here it is. This is a cover of a book called Param Purush Sri Sri Ramakrishna, a biography of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. And this was one of the artwork done by Satyajit Ray during his early part of his career when he was a graphic designer. And here is the Alpana, in the colorful Alpanas which are drawn in the Park Street in Kolkata every year during the Durga Puja. This particular photograph, if I'm not wrong, is from 2018. For about 2-3 kilometers, they cover the road with this. And many a times what they do is they make it into a competition among the women folk. And it has become an affair. Even in Chennai, we have this Golem competition which happens every year. So next we go to Chow Purana of North India. Chow Purana in North India, if you notice, is practiced from Punjab, Haryana, parts of Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. Chauk literally means a square or a sacred space, and Purana means to fill. Now here is a Chauk Purana in Kashi. This one I got it from somebody, Mr. Balaji from Twitter. And this again is done during certain occasions. Like for instance, here you see a Chauk Purana in front of the bride to be, and the rituals of applying haldi on her face done in a Punjabi family. And also this one is drawn, the Chauk Purana is drawn not just on the floor, but also on the walls. It is done only by women again, and it's done during Diwali, Holi, and Karwa Chauth in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, and also during marriages, especially in Punjab. And this tradition is even there in Punjab province of Pakistan. Here is a Chauk Purana, which is which is depicting swastika, done inside the floor of the home. Next, we go on to Aipan of Uttarakhand. This is a tradition which gets its name from this an Kamoni tradition, which is from the Kamon region among the women of Kamon. And here again, what women do is they use rice paste. They apply the floor with geru, or many times they apply the floor or the pedestal with red color, dark red color. And here the common motifs are floral designs and the feet of Lakshmi. Now here you see the Aipan, which is being depicted in front at the entrance of the home, here with the footsteps of goddess Lakshmi. And also they do this in their asan. Asan means the place of worship, and which is also which will be in a kitchen or in the puja room. Here again you got a swastik design, and this again has been now encouraged by the Uttarakhand government as a form of a livelihood for women, where this art form has come into the paper tradition. Here is a very good example of an Aipan on a paper by an artist from Kamon region. Another version is the pedestal, which is known as a wooden chowki, where the image of the deity is placed. Here it is done. And another form from Kerala I would like to show you. Here is more of ritual-based forms. Kalam Eluthu. Kalam Eluthu from Kerala is practiced as a sacred form, done to propagate goddess Bhagavati, Sri Ayyappa, and done for the Sarpa Kavu. Sarpa Kavu meaning the sacred groves connected to serpents. This is done by only few communities, especially the Kurup. Then you got the Tayamadi Nambiyars, Tayamadi Unnis. What they do is they specialize on this by drawing this in the sacred space, whether it's a temple or a sacred grove. And it takes about 2 to 3 hours to perform this, which is connected with the ritual. The priest starts, the artist starts painting it only after the priest sanctions the ritual. And then an elaborate ritual is performed. This is a completed Kalam Eluthu from Kerala in a Ayyappa temple in Chennai. And this is a Kalam Eluthu dedicated to Sarpa, that is snakes, serpents. A very large Sarpa Kalam Eluthu dedicated to goddess Bhagavati. And this one comes in a ritual form where the Kalam Eluthu also becomes as a Kalam Eluthu Pattu, which means singing tradition, and also as a ritual to get rid of an individual of certain doshas, that is any defect or so on. Here it is for the mother and daughter, which is being done, the ritual. Here is for a young lady. It is accompanied by a woman singer who plays a cymbal, a drummer, and a string instrument, a folk string instrument from Kerala. And it is done with Kalam Eluthu Attam and Pattu, which is an artist performs it as a dance form outside the Kalam, and he also does it inside. Here is a Kalam Eluthu Pattu, which is known as Vetakurumokan, which depicts the story of Arjuna's seek of the Pashupati Astra in the Mahabharata. Now, this again is done by professional storytellers who are also the artists of the tradition. Next we see is from Kerala, known as Hase Chitra. Hase Chitra is an art form which is painted only on the walls. This is an art form which is practiced only by the women of the Devaru community. And interestingly, this community, the women, the society is a matriarchal society where the women take an upper hand, and it is done only by married women, and also widows can participate. Interestingly, in this tradition, widows also participate. Now here they use the brush they use is known as Pundi Naru, which is made from the Arakanut fiber, and only rice paste is used on the Gero background, that is a red background. It is done during the Bhumi Hunnime. Bhumi Hunnime is a festival to celebrate goddess Bhudevi, that is earth goddess, during a full moon day of the sacred calendar. And another one is known as Hase Gode. This is the one which is known as Hase Gode, which is done during weddings. Now, this art form again is done very intricately, where about 2-3 women gather together after they work in their fields and finishing their household chores. They start at late at night. They go on till middle of the night, and they complete it about, they take about 4 to 5 days to complete it. And they use only cotton threads to make straight lines. They don't use any rulers. Here is a Arakanut fiber, which they use for painting. And they also do this painting on baskets, woven baskets done by them. And this art form again has been revived by this lady called Geeta. Now it has come from the walls to the poster, where another third form they do is Teru. Teru means chariot. Here it depicts about the people pulling the temple chariot of the deity. And this is the traditional form. Now here, in the modern sense, when it comes into paper, they've been experimenting with various colors again. Next comes Varli, folk art form from Maharashtra. This is a form practiced only by the Varli Adivasi community who reside in the northern region of Maharashtra in the Sahyadri range. This one is an art form which is very prominent in the Dehanu region in Thane district. And this is an art form which has been highly commercialized. Now, this art form again is done by only the women, married women who are known as Suvasini. They do it during the wedding ceremony in both the bride and the groom's home. And this particular, and it's done in a rectangular form known as Chauk. Dev Chauk, they got it. They call it, and it is dedicated to goddess Palghat Devi. Here you got it, and this is a modern form where you got the name of the bridegroom and their parents. And here is the image of goddess Palghat Devi, flanked by the sun and the moon. And here is the Purna Kalasa, the feet of goddess Lakshmi. This ritual is done by the women. It is done overnight. And what happens is it is facilitated by the Bhagat, who is the shaman or the priest. And it is covered till the last moment. The bride and the groom are not supposed to see it. Interestingly, this art form came into a commercial space outside the walls of the Varli home in 1970s by this gentleman on the right. The person on the right is Padma Shri Jiva Soma Mashe. It was he who accompanied a group of women who were invited to Delhi, Varli women who were invited to Delhi to make this art form on paper, initiated by the artist Bhaskar Kulkarni under the auspices of Pupul Jayakar, who was then the advisor of Government of India in regards to folk craft and textile. When Jiva Soma Mashe, though it was a premise of women, what happened was Jiva Soma Mashe brought in many elements which were new to Varli, that is, he started to paint his worldview. Here is his home. You got the feet of goddess Lakshmi at the entrance, being facilitated by former President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And this is what the Jiva Soma Mashe did. He started to bring in the everyday life elements of the Varli community into the Varli art form. Now, from the sacred, it became more of a cultural aspect. And they started to use not paper, but canvas. Here is various rituals which are being performed for various deities of the Varli community. Now, this is a modern form which comes into the canvas. Here is the sacred depiction of goddess Palgat. And on the right, you can see agricultural activity by the Varli community. And this is one of the common mottos which you can find across India. That is the Tarpa dance. Tarpa dance is it's actually a dance which comes from the name of the Tarpa instrument, which is a blowing instrument, which is very much identical with the Varli community. This dance, the Tarpa dance, actually represents the fullness of life, and also the, how do you call it? It is more of the cycle of life, which also represents fertility. And another depiction is one of the sacred sites in Danu for the Varli community. That is it is known as the Mahalakshmi Hill, where there is a cave temple for the goddess. Here is a photograph of the hill on the right, you can see. And also there are certain elements which some artists have bought in. Like here, apart from agriculture activities, this one artist, Balu Mashe, has bought in, Balu Domada, artist Balu Domada has depicted the exploitation of the Parsi landowners to the Varli community. Here you can see a landowner dragging one of the priests of the community. They got a child who has been locked away. Then they got them beating the laborers and so on. Because this particular area, there are quite a few, in the past, there were these Parsi landlords who were engaged in chiku farming. Now, this is the element what the Varli artists have brought out, which is their outlook of life, and this is more of bringing in their cultural memory and their heritage into the art form. And this is another art which is depicted by Jiva Soma Mashe's son, Balu Soma Mashe, which is depicting a scarecrow on the field. Interestingly, Varli art has been very much commercialized without giving credit to the artist. Very good example is sometime in 2009 or 8, I'm not sure, Come Home to Diwali ad campaign by Coca-Cola was done, and this is one of them. And they also had these ones, and this is the art form which was done in on a computer, but not by a Varli artist. And here you don't see any credit given to any artist over here, but only the art form. Another one is GE India, when they were establishing themselves in India, they used various art forms across India to depict their endeavor in India. Here is about jet engines. They do R&D over here for jet engines in Bangalore. And this is an advertisement newspaper ad which they gave out using Varli art. Here again, there is no credit given to the artist. And it's become popular for Varli art being mimicked by board housewives in urban centers where they make umbrellas like this. And they also do the art form on saris. Now, this is nothing but cultural theft, I will call it, because it's not the community members who are doing the art, but somebody else. And here is a display of Varli art without name of the artist in a hotel, in a conference room at a hotel. Again, goddess Palgat Devi coming in the Varli sari. This is a recent ad featured by the Ministry of Railways, Government of India, where they have now depicted Varli art as a form for you to go and reach Varli artists. Here you can see they have given in the whole details, the route map. And interestingly, in this art form, the Government of India has got the a great endeavor by also making sure that the artist has mentioned his name. Here you can see the artist's name. Off late, about, if I'm not wrong, in 2018, two boys from the Varli community, the Vaida brothers, that is Mayur and Tushar, they got together. They were invited by a residential complex in Lodi Colony, Delhi, to do the exterior murals. Now you can see the negative and the positive aspect of commercialization of an art form. So next we go to Saura art form of Odisha. This is an art form which is practiced by the Saura Adivasi community, which is again similar to Varli, but it is done only in a ritual context. The art form, though it's called a Saura painting, the actual name the Saura people use it for this art form is called Idital. It is done anytime when a new house is built and also to propagate the gods and goddesses. If you look closely, this might resemble the Varli style, but it's not. The difference between Varli and Saura is in Varli art form, women and men, the genders are very prominent because the upper triangle of the male body will be wider and the lower triangle of the female body will be wider in Varli form. But in Saura, the human figures will resemble the same. Now, these are the traditional Varli forms. This is also an art which has been brought to the commercial space where they've started to make it into in canvas and paper. And in this by the community members. These two images are from the community members, but unfortunately, it has also been hijacked into a commercial sense, which are without the consent of the community members. Like for instance, here on a sari. Next, we go to Pitaura of Gujarat. Pitaura is an art form which is practiced by the Ratwa community, who are formerly denotified community, and now there is a major controversy whether they are mainstream other backward castes or they are Adivasi, but they would like to call themselves Adivasi. And they are mostly in the region of Chota Udaipur, which is nearer to Vadodara in southern Gujarat. And here, this is an art form which is done in the inside of the home, where they cover three portions of the hall: the left, the center, and the right portions of the hall of the main hall of as soon as we enter the home. And here is one of the priests who's known as a Badua, who got it painted for his home when his grandchild got sick. Here is another portion. Here you can see the left wall. The previous one, you can see the right wall over here. And here is the main wall. This is also connected with the oral narrative, which is narration of Baba Pitora's mythological story, which is very much in oral tradition. It's not in written form. Here is the center wall. And this one depicts the mythological story of Baba Pitora, especially his wedding. And this is also divided into three portions. The upper portion is for the gods. Here you've got the sun and the moon. Then in the middle portion, you've got the deities again, with Baba Pitora and his consort, who's riding an elephant after their marriage. And the bottom portion depicting agricultural activities, there is the origin of agriculture and so on. Three main people are involved in this particular art form. That is, the first is the Lakara, who's a painter, who's actually a casual agricultural laborer who's engaged for this. And it has been overseen by the Badwa, the priest, and then the Jokara. Jokara is a person who who actually keeps a tab on what is the Lakara doing. That is, what is the painting he does. What they do is they cover the wall with 2 coats of cow dung paste. After that, they smear it with white chalk powder, which is sourced by young unmarried girls. And please remember, this art form is completely male dominated. And this particular coating process is known as Lipana. Main colors they use is bright yellow, indigo, orange. Earlier, they used to use it from natural materials, which they used to mix it with milk and mawa liquor. Though Gujarat is a dry state, mawa, the Ratvas have got the right to distill mawa in their own home. Of course, they don't do it commercially, they don't sell it, except to share it among themselves. Here is a closer look at the Baba Pitora's journey. And this is a sacred aspect of, one of the sacred aspects of the painting. This is known as, this is a place where they mark with vermilion sindoor dots when each particular narrative is being narrated. As the Lakara paints, the Jokara and the Baduva, they do the oral narration. So as each portion is completed, they will place these dots as a completion of a ritual. And at the end of the ritual, what happens is they make goat and chicken sacrifice to the painting over here at the bottom, whereby infusing life to the painting. And the painting is done when there is somebody who has fallen sick in the family, or if a cattle is dead, or any kind of a calamity which the family might face. Now here is a left fall, and this Pitora is mostly dotted with numerous horses because it is the main vehicle of Baba Pitora. And here on the corner you can see a white horse which depicts, which is meant to placate ghosts, witches. And again, there are modern elements also the artists are bringing nowadays, like the bus, lorry, scooter. And here they also started to incorporate the date of the painting. And this is the right wall. The left wall of the painting is meant for minor deities and to placate ghosts and witches, whereas the right wall is meant to the ancestors. So any of the deceased person of the family, their photos will be placed over here. Here you got Raja Bhoj being depicted over here smoking the hookah. Baba Pitora and Pitori. And being a denotified tribe, the Rathavas are constantly hounded by the police, despite when any crime happens in the vicinity. So this is something which the artist is depicting it in a visual form, where the police is following a Rathava couple who are just bringing back the goat from grazing. Now here is a Mova making apparatus, which is very much connected with the Rathavas. Now here you could see the style. See, the content in the Rathava painting will be the same, but the location of it will change. The style of it will change minor. And also the artist can infuse anything new. Here you could see the artist has bought an aeroplane, which they have seen it flying over here. Here again, artist has bought an aeroplane. Then he has got a school bus, which he saw when he went to Vadodara. And this art form has again bought into the canvas. But here again, there is no commercial exploitation of the artist. The artists only themselves make this form, not outsiders. And then we go to Rajasthan. Rajasthan, we see the Beel Mandana. Mandana literally means, you could call it as, again, floor drawing and wall drawing. Here it is done by the Beel community, which is done during the occasion of Diwali. They use floral motifs and geometric patterns on the outside of the outer surface of the walls of their home and around their fireplace where they cook their food, because again is to invoke goddess Lakshmi. Here is a fireplace which is outside the home and the one inside. And interestingly, this place again, they will have these motifs which are drawn in the door, entrance door, which is to placate their gods. And the brush they use is straw. Here is a bunch of straw. And this is a brush they use. Interestingly, this has also got connection with the nearby rock site. Just observe this particular floor painting. This lady has not seen this rock site, but nevertheless, it is there in the cultural memory when it's being depicted. This is again the same design which is there in the rock art site. Next, we move on to the Mandanas, which are created by the Meena community in Savai Madhapur and Tonk region of Rajasthan. Now, this village of my documentation is from Binota village, which is a little, which is nearer to the Ranthambore National Park. This again, women adorn their walls during before Diwali, again with the belief that to invite goddess Lakshmi in their home. Though the Meena community is really, they are very hardworking farmers. They are socially well-to-do, and they have also got many of them in academics and civil services. Nevertheless, this is only done in the villages, but not in the modern homes because they don't have the mud plastered walls. This again, you got it as both floor paintings and on the walls. And inside their homes, they do to these storage boxes, which is made again of clay, where they store the seeds for the next sowing season, which again is considered sacred. This is considered as a home of the Lakshmi inside the householder's home. And this only color they use is for depicting gods, goddesses. The popular one they paint is Lord Ganesh using colors. These are poster colors which they get it from the bazaar. And in the sacred shrines, they make it here is a shrine under a neem tree for goddess Sitala Devi. Now here, the creativity of women is so much that every year after the plastering, it's not the same motif they do it. They can experiment with anything. They don't have any constraints into painting into only a particular form or so on. No, they can paint anywhere. For instance, in this wall, they got these openings. They have been creative enough to make it into a flower. Along with peacocks over here, then you've got a cat. Even in the place where they place fodder for the cattle, they do the Mandana paintings. And this is done only on mud plaster walls. Even if the householder has left that mud plastered house and gone to a Pakka house, what they do is they will be having this only, they will be doing the painting before Diwali, even if the house is closed and they are not living by it. Because they do consider that if they do this painting in their homes during Diwali, Goddess Lakshmi will visit their homes. In case there is an elder couple or they have not been at home, they are not able to do an elaborate mandana. What they will do is they'll use a rice paste to only draw this simple line outside their home. Now here you can see the difference between the mud plastered home and a Pakka house. For instance, here there's a Pakka house where in the entrance they have done mandanas. Here again you got one. The final one which I would like to share with you is Shorai and Kovar art forms of Jharkhand. This is an art form which is into two forms they do it. Here is Shorai. This again is painted in outside the home and inside. And they have got two contexts. Here is a Kobar. Kobar form is mainly done by the Kudmi and Prajapati community members. This Kobar form is done during the occasion of marriage at the home of the bride, where the mother of the bride and the aunts engage and do this form, whereby they use only black over the background of white. The white symbolizes the sperm of father and the black paint symbolizes the womb of the mother. Here it is. Interestingly, here there is a lady who's painting an elephant with a calf inside her. And this particular art form is found only in Hazaribagh region of Jharkhand. Now, this is again due to Padma Shri Billu Imam, who was a person who was an art enthusiast and who went around searching and documenting cave paintings, accidentally stumbled upon these in remote villages in Hazaribagh. And he formed a women's cooperative, and they now promote this art form in paper and canvas, which is to help women to sustain them for a sustainable livelihood. Now here is a interior of the women's cooperative where the art form is being done by women and sold commercially. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I hope I'm on time.
Hari sir, is it done?
Yeah,
Hello.
thank you.
Hello, Hari sir.
Yeah, it's done.
Okay. So thank you, Hari sir. Thank you very much for showcasing this topic. I mean, it's such a huge topic, but you have showcased it so beautifully. Thank you very much. So since the content is so vast that we had to divide the uh, section into two parts. So we are going to see the continuation in the next session. You can use the same link and you can log in, you can register with the same link for next Saturday at same time. So Ajay sir, do you want to add something?
Yes, actually, do you know it shows the depth of the knowledge of incredible India tourist guides. He shows us everything from every region of the country. Mr. Hari, you are really the gem of the guide community. The depth of the knowledge you can see. That's why always we mention that the guides are the real cultural ambassador of India. You collected the things from every region and you explained it very well, which show your the depth of the knowledge. It's wonderful. So the Ministry of Tourism, when they came with this vision that we are going to show the 75 destination with tour guide.
So it's now, like we are going to see the country with their eyes, with their words, with their stories.
So the our respected Madam Rupinder Bararji, she trusted on us, she trusted on our team, Motose ji, Feroz Khan, myself, Ajay Singh, and always we come with a great speakers. So the same way today, Mr. Hari, your representation, it was outstanding. All I can just say the 5-star plus. So the viewers.
And to the viewers, we would like to request you that if you have any queries, if you have anything to add on, if you have any kind of inputs, please do write to us. And our email ID is dad.webinar@gov.in. So if you miss any webinar also, you can inform us. We will send you the links if in case you don't find it in YouTube or somewhere. So you can always write to us. So thank you once again, Hari sir. So we are going to see you next Saturday again. Thank you, Ajay sir, for being such a moral support. And last but not the least, Feroz
thank
sir.
You viewers as well.
What is that, sir?
Thank you, viewers as well. And yes, we are requesting them to join us again next Saturday, 11 a.m.
Yes, please stay tuned with us next Saturday, same time, but from different ports. So we are going to have the next part. So whatever is not covered today will be covered next session. So with that, time to say goodbye. Weekend has already started. So enjoy your weekend, be safe, and take a very good care of yourself. With that, namaskar.
Thank you all.